Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood on the bridge of the human ship Seoul's Pride. The stars looked peaceful through the large windows. His ship was flying toward Kepler 7 station for important talks with alien races. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Coalition. They said they wanted to trade with humans. Captain Jimin Park walked up to the Admiral. She looked worried. "Sir, we are getting close to the station. The alien ships are already there waiting for us." Hyunwoo nodded. He had been in the military for 30 years. He had fought in 3 wars between human colonies. He knew when something felt wrong. This felt wrong. Communications Officer Tae-ho Lee spoke from his station. "Admiral, the aliens are sending us a message. They want us to come to the station right away. Send back that we will dock in 1 hour," Hyunwoo said. "We follow proper procedures." The Seoul's Pride was not a warship. It was built for diplomacy. It had some weapons, but not many. The crew of 200 people were mostly diplomats, translators, and trade experts. Only 50 were military. Security Chief So Young Choi checked her weapons one more time. She did not trust aliens. Her grandfather had told her stories about the old wars on Earth. He always said never trust someone who smiles too much. The aliens in the messages smiled too much. 1 hour later, the Seoul's Pride docked at Kepler 7 station. The station was huge and strange. It looked like a metal flower floating in space. Alien ships surrounded it. Hyunwoo counted at least 40 ships. That was a lot for a trade meeting. Ambassador Veltar met them at the docking port. He was tall and thin with blue skin. His species was called the hegemony. They were the leaders of the coalition. Veltar smiled with too many teeth. "Welcome, humans," Veltar said. His voice sounded like metal scraping metal. "We have much to discuss." The meeting room was cold and smelled like chemicals. Hyunwoo sat across from Veltar and 5 other alien ambassadors. Each alien looked different. One looked like a giant insect. Another had tentacles instead of arms. They all stared at the humans with hungry eyes. "Let us begin," Veltar said. "The coalition has decided to offer humanity a great honor. You may join our trade network." Hyunwoo waited. There was always more. "Of course there is a price," Veltar continued. "You must give us 3 of your outer colonies. Consider it payment for our protection." The human admiral felt his blood turn cold. "Protection from what?" "From us," Veltar said. His smile got bigger. "Space is dangerous. Accidents happen to ships. Colonies sometimes disappear. But under our protection, you will be safe." Captain Park's hand moved toward her weapon. So Young touched her arm and shook her head slightly. "Not yet. I need to contact Earth," Hyunwoo said. "This is not what we agreed to discuss." "There is nothing to discuss," the insect alien said. His voice buzzed. "You will agree or face consequences." "Give us 1 hour to send a message to our government," Hyunwoo said. Veltar looked at the other aliens. They whispered in their strange languages. "Very well, 1 hour. But remember, humans are new here. You do not understand how things work in this galaxy." Back on the Seoul's Pride, Hyunwoo gathered his officers. "They want 3 colonies as tribute. This is not trade. This is extortion. What do we do?" Captain Park asked. "We send a message to Earth. We tell them what the aliens really want. Then we wait for orders." Tae-ho sent the message using the fastest communication system humans had. It would take 6 hours to reach Earth. The answer would take another 6 hours to come back. 4 hours later, alien ships surrounded the Seoul's Pride. Veltar's voice came over the communication system. "Humans, your time is up. What is your answer?" "We are still waiting for orders from our government," Hyunwoo replied. "That is unfortunate. We do not like to wait." The first energy blast hit the Seoul's Pride on the left side. The ship shook hard. Emergency alarms started screaming. "They are shooting at us," Tae-ho yelled. "The diplomatic shields are down." "Return fire," Hyunwoo ordered. The Seoul's Pride had only 6 weapons. The alien ships had hundreds. More energy blasts hit the human ship. Explosions shook the hull. The lights went out and came back on. "Hull breach on deck 7, someone shouted. So Young ran to her security station. "All military personnel prepare for boarding action. They will try to take the ship." Captain Park worked at her controls. "I can get 1 message out before the communication system fails." "Do it," Hyunwoo said. The message was short. They fired first. "Protocol 7 is authorized." More explosions rocked the ship. The artificial gravity failed. People floated in the air. Emergency power kept some lights working. Sir, they are boarding us, So Young reported. Alien soldiers are cutting through the hull. Hyunwoo made a decision that would change everything. He activated his personal communicator to speak to the entire crew. This is the Admiral. The aliens have fired on a diplomatic ship. They have broken every law of civilized space. We will not let them take this ship. We will not let them take prisoners. All personnel, activate Protocol 7 immediately. Protocol 7 was something every human military person knew. It meant total destruction rather than capture. Every human ship had charges that could destroy the entire vessel. So Young smiled grimly. It has been an honor serving with you, sir. The honor was mine, Hyunwoo replied. The alien soldiers broke through the hull just as the human crew activated Protocol 7. The Soul's Pride exploded in a ball of white light. The explosion was so powerful it damaged 3 alien ships nearby. On the alien command ship, Veltar stared at the debris. What happened? Why did they destroy their own ship? Maybe it was an accident, one of his officers said. No, Veltar said slowly. They did it on purpose. But why? The aliens did not understand. In their culture, losing a battle meant negotiating better terms. It did not mean death. They had fought many wars, but they were really just extended arguments. No one ever fought to the death. Send a message to Earth, Veltar ordered. Tell them their diplomats are dead. Tell them they have one chance to surrender the 3 colonies or we will destroy more ships. The alien commander was confident. He had seen this before. The humans would be angry, but they would negotiate. They would give up the colonies to prevent more deaths. This was how things worked in the galaxy, but Veltar did not understand humans. He did not know that humans had a saying, remember the Alamo. He did not know that humans never forgot when enemies killed their people under a flag of peace. The aliens thought they had won the first battle. They were wrong. They had just started a war that would end their civilization. On Earth, the message from Captain Park arrived first. Then came the news that the Soul's Pride was gone. President Min Jun-kang read both messages in his office. His face turned hard as stone. The aliens had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They had killed human diplomats. Now they would learn what humans did to people who broke the rules of war. President Min Jun-kang sat in the emergency meeting room deep under the Earth's capital. The room had no windows. Heavy metal doors kept out the world above. Around the long table sat the most powerful people in human space. Fleet Admiral Hee Jin-yoon looked tired. She had been awake for 18 hours since the news came. Her gray hair was pulled back tight. Her uniform was perfect, but her eyes showed her anger. General Dong Hyun-shin drummed his fingers on the table. He commanded all human ground forces. He was a big man with scars on his hands from old battles. He wanted to hit something. Intelligence Director Yoon-ji Lim was the smallest person in the room, but everyone feared her. She knew secrets that could destroy governments. Her job was to know everything about humanity's enemies. Tell me again what happened, President Kang said. Admiral Yoon spoke first. The Soul's Pride was destroyed at Kepler 7 station. All hands lost. Before the ship died, Admiral Kim authorized Protocol 7. The aliens fired first on a diplomatic vessel. General Shin added. That breaks every rule of war going back thousands of years. Director Lim opened her computer. The aliens sent us a message 2 hours ago. They call it a final offer of mercy. They still want 3 colonies. Now they also want us to pay for the damage our exploding ship did to their fleet. President Kang felt his blood pressure rise. They want us to pay them? Yes, sir. They seem to think we will negotiate now that they have shown their power. The president stood up and walked to the wall. A map of human space showed all the colonies, space stations, and military bases. 300 billion humans lived in this space. They had built it over 200 years of hard work. What do we know about these aliens? He asked. Director Lim touched her computer screen. Pictures of different alien species appeared on the wall. The coalition has 12 species. The hegemony leads them. They have been the dominant power in this part of the galaxy for 800 years. How do they fight wars? Admiral Yoon asked. That is the interesting part, Director Lim said. They do not really fight wars the way we understand them. When they have conflicts, they have short battles. When one side loses 15 or 20% of their forces, they surrender. Then they negotiate new terms. General Shin laughed, but it was not a happy sound. They think losing 20% is serious? To them it is. Their entire military doctrine is based on quick shows of force followed by negotiation. They have never faced an enemy that fights to total victory. President Kang turned back to the table. What about their technology? Their ships are impressive but built for intimidation, not real combat, Admiral Yoon said. Our intelligence suggests they have thin armor and weak damage control systems. They expect battles to end quickly. Director Lim added more information. Their crews are trained for short engagements. Their ships carry supplies for maybe 2 weeks of operation. They have never needed more. The president sat down again. They do not understand what they have done. No, sir, Director Lim agreed. In their culture, killing diplomats might be shocking, but it is just another negotiating tactic. They expect us to be angry, then negotiate. A communication officer entered the room. Sir, the aliens are sending another message. Put it on the screen, President Kang ordered. The image of Ambassador Veltar appeared. His blue skin looked even more unnatural on the screen. His smile was smaller now, but still there. People of Earth, Veltar said, we regret the unfortunate incident at Kepler 7. Your diplomats forced us to take action when they refused our generous offer. We are prepared to be merciful, surrender the 3 colonies we requested, plus 1 additional colony as payment for damages. Do this within 48 hours and we will consider the matter closed. The message ended. The room was quiet for a long moment. Merciful, General Shin said finally. They think they are being merciful. President Kang stood up again. Admiral Yoon, what is the status of our fleet? We have 47 active warships. Another 130 ships in various stages of construction or repair. If we activate the reserves and militia, we can field maybe 300 ships total. The aliens have over 1,000 ships, Director Lim said. Numbers are not everything, Admiral Yoon replied. Their ships are built wrong for real war. Our ships are built by people who understand that wars are fought until one side cannot fight anymore. President Kang made his decision. Send a message to the coalition. Use all channels. Make sure every species in their alliance hears it. The communication officer prepared to record. President Kang stood straight and looked directly into the camera. To the Galactic Coalition, he began. You have murdered diplomats under a flag of truce. You have demanded tribute from a free people. You have threatened human colonies where billions of innocent people live. This is unacceptable. He paused to let his words sink in. You have 12 hours to surrender unconditionally. Disarm your fleets. Release any prisoners you hold. Submit to human authority for trial of your war crimes. If you do this, we will be merciful. Another pause. If you do not surrender, we will show you why humanity has never lost a war. We do not fight for territory or tribute. We fight to end the threat completely. When humans go to war, we do not stop until our enemies can never threaten us again. The president stepped closer to the camera. 12 hours. Choose wisely, the message ended. Director Lim immediately sent it to every coalition world and ship. Do you think they will surrender? Admiral Yoon asked. No, President Kang said. They do not understand what we just told them. To them, this is just more negotiation. 6 hours later, the coalition's response arrived. Veltar appeared on screen again, but this time he was not alone. 12 different aliens stood behind him, representing each species in the coalition. Humans, Veltar said. His voice sounded amused. Your threats are childish. You have 47 ships. We have over 1,000. You are primitives who have just learned to travel between stars. We have ruled this galaxy for centuries. The insect alien stepped forward. Your demands for our surrender are insulting. Instead, we increase our price. You will now surrender 5 colonies, not 3. You will also send us complete technical information about your weapons and ships. Veltar smiled his horrible smile. You have until tomorrow to comply. If you refuse, we will demonstrate what happens to primitives who challenge their betters. The message ended. General Shin cracked his knuckles. I think they just made our decision easy. Admiral Yoon was already standing. I need to get to fleet headquarters. We have work to do. What is Protocol 7? President Kang asked. Total war, Admiral Yoon replied. Every ship, every base, every resource devoted to destroying the enemy completely. No negotiation. No compromise. We fight until they are gone or we are. Director Lim looked up from her computer. Sir, our intelligence networks are reporting unusual activity in coalition space. They are moving their main fleet toward our border. How many ships? General Shin asked. At least 400, maybe more. President Kang felt a weight settle on his shoulders. He was about to start a war that would decide the future of humanity. But the aliens had fired first. They had killed innocents under a flag of peace. Some things could not be forgiven. Admiral Yoon, he said. You have authorization for Protocol 7. Do whatever you need to do. Admiral Yoon saluted. Yes, sir. The aliens wanted to teach us about power. We will teach them about war. As the Admiral left the room, President Kang wondered if the aliens truly understood what they had started. In a few hours they would learn that humans did not fight the way other species fought. Humans fought to win. Admiral Hyejin Yoon stood in the command center of Luna Base, humanity's largest military facility. The room buzzed with activity as officers worked at hundreds of stations. Giant screens showed star maps, ship positions, and production reports from across human space. Protocol 7 was now active. Every human world was preparing for total war. Captain Su Binjiang walked up to the Admiral. She was young but had proven herself in 3 border conflicts with pirates. Admiral, the Incheon's Wrath is ready for deployment. All systems are operational. The Incheon's Wrath was humanity's newest dreadnought. It was built like a flying fortress with armor 3 meters thick and enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Unlike alien ships built for show, it was designed by engineers who understood that ships needed to keep fighting even when badly damaged. Good, Admiral Yoon said. Take her to Rally Point Alpha. Commander Oh will meet you there with the carrier group. Commander Jae-sung. Oh commanded the carrier Busan's Revenge and 5 smaller ships. His pilots were the best in human space. They trained for combat scenarios that alien pilots had never even imagined. On the other side of the command center, Captain Yejin Han checked the status of her ship. The Gang 1's Fury was experimental, equipped with new weapons that human scientists had been developing in secret. The aliens were about to face technology they did not know existed. Admiral, Communications Officer Tae-ho Lee called out. He had been transferred from the destroyed Soul's Pride sister ship. We are receiving scout reports from the border. Show me, Admiral Yoon ordered. The main screen displayed a star map. Red dots showed coalition ships moving toward human space. There were more dots than anyone had expected. Over 600 ships, the intelligence officer reported. They are calling it the Grand Punishment Fleet. Admiral Yoon studied the enemy formation. The alien ships moved in neat rows like they were marching in a parade. Their formation was designed to look impressive, not to fight effectively. They still do not understand, she said quietly. Across the galaxy, Coalition Marshal Thex Nova stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Inevitable Victory. The ship was huge and covered with decorative metal spikes. It looked like a work of art, not a weapon of war. Marshal, his intelligence officer Nexhal reported. The humans are moving ships toward the border. We count about 50 vessels, Marshal Thex Nova laughed. 50 ships against 600? These primitives are braver than they are smart. The coalition fleet moved slowly through space. Their ships were beautiful but delicate. They had never been designed for the brutal reality of extended combat. Their crews expected quick battles followed by surrender ceremonies, but human scouts were watching. They saw the alien formation and sent detailed reports back to Admiral Yoon. The reports told her everything she needed to know about how the aliens fought. They grouped their ships for maximum visual impact, she told her staff. Their formation maximizes the number of ships that can be seen at once, but it spreads their firepower thin. What about their tactics? Captain Jang asked. Based on our analysis, they fire warning shots first. Then they demand surrender. If the enemy keeps fighting, they concentrate fire on one target until it surrenders or retreats. They have never faced an enemy that fights back effectively, General Dong Hyun Shin added. He had come to Luna Base to coordinate with the fleet. Their ground forces are even worse. They are trained for occupation duty, not real combat. Admiral Yoon made her decision. We will not wait for them to reach our worlds. We go to meet them. The human fleet began to move. Unlike the alien parade formation, human ships traveled in combat groups designed for mutual support. Each group could fight independently or combine with others for major battles. Captain Jang's dreadnought led the first battle group. Her ship carried enough ammunition for 6 months of combat. The crew had trained for scenarios where they might fight for weeks without resupply. Commander Oh's carriers took a different route. His fighters were loaded with new weapons that could punch through alien armor. His pilots had studied every coalition ship design they could find. Captain Han's experimental ship traveled alone. Her mission was to test the new weapons against real targets. The aliens were about to become unwilling test subjects. 3 days later, the fleets met at the edge of an empty star system. Marshal Thex Nova deployed his ships in the traditional coalition formation. 600 ships formed a wall of metal and energy weapons that stretched across space. "Send the standard surrender demand," he ordered. The message went to Admiral Yoon on her flagship, the Soul's Vengeance. The ship was named after the destroyed diplomatic vessel. Its hull was painted with the names of every human who had died at Kepler 7. The alien surrender demand appeared on her screen. Marshal Thexanova stood in his decorated uniform surrounded by flags and ceremonial guards. "Primitive humans," he said, "you are outnumbered 12 to 1. Surrender now and we will show mercy. Your crimes against the coalition require punishment, but we are not unreasonable. Give us 6 colonies and technical information about your weapons. In return, we will let your species live." Admiral Yoon recorded her reply immediately. "Coalition forces," she said. Her voice was calm and professional. "You murdered diplomats under a flag of peace. You demanded tribute from free people. You have threatened human colonies. These crimes cannot be forgiven." She paused to let her words reach every ship in both fleets. "We do not surrender. We do not negotiate with terrorists. You wanted to see what humans do when cornered. You are about to find out." The message ended. Marshal Thexnova stared at his screen in disbelief. "Fire warning shots," he ordered. "Target their lead ship." Energy beams lanced out from the coalition fleet. They struck the space around the Soul's Vengeance but did not hit the ship directly. This was the traditional way to start a battle. Admiral Yoon's response was not traditional. "All ships," she broadcast, "open fire. Target their command ship first." The human fleet fired as one. 300 weapons focused on the inevitable victory. The alien ship's shields flared and died under the concentrated assault. Armor plating cracked and melted. The beautiful decorative spikes were blown away. Marshal Thexnova felt his ship shake apart around him. "Return fire! All ships, return fire!" The coalition fleet began shooting. But their formation was wrong for real combat. Many ships could not fire without hitting their own allies. The ones that could fire found that human ships were much harder to damage than expected. Captain Zhang's dreadnought took dozens of hits but kept fighting. Her ship's armor was designed by people who understood that battles were won by the side that could take damage and keep shooting. The alien weapons were built to disable enemy ships quickly and cleanly. They were not designed to fight enemies who reinforced their armor and had backup systems for their backup systems. Commander O's fighters swept in from 3 directions. The alien ships had point defense weapons, but their crews had never faced attack craft that pressed their attacks regardless of losses. Lieutenant Wu Jin Nam led the first fighter squadron directly into the alien formation. His small ship took heavy fire, but he kept flying until he was close enough to launch his weapons into an alien battleship's engine room. Lieutenant Ha Young Kim followed with the second squadron. Her fighters carried experimental bombs that could crack heavy armor. She lost half her ships getting close enough to attack, but the bombs worked perfectly. The alien battleship broke in half. Marshal Thexanova watched in horror as his perfect formation fell apart. Human ships moved through the gaps, concentrating their fire on one alien vessel at a time. Each target was destroyed completely before the humans moved to the next one. "Signal surrender," he ordered. "Sir, they are not accepting surrender calls," his communication officer reported. "They keep shooting." Admiral Yoon had given clear orders to her fleet. The aliens could surrender when they stopped being a threat. Until then, every ship would be destroyed. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Coalition's Grand Punishment Fleet was gone. 600 ships had been reduced to debris and wreckage. Only a few small vessels escaped to carry news of the defeat back to Coalition space. Marshal Thexanova was dead, along with most of the Coalition's best officers. The survivors could not understand what had happened. Captain Subin Zhang surveyed the battlefield from her damaged but still fighting ship. "Admiral, the enemy fleet is destroyed. Shall we pursue the survivors?" "No," Admiral Yoon replied. "Let them run. Let them tell their leaders what happened here." The survivors limped back to Coalition space with terrible news. The humans did not fight like civilized species. They did not accept surrender. They fought until their enemies were completely destroyed. For the first time in 800 years, the Coalition faced an enemy that wanted to win, not negotiate. The Coalition Council met in emergency session on their capital world of Hegemony Prime. The Great Chamber had not seen such panic in centuries. 12 species representatives argued in a dozen different languages, but they all said the same thing. The humans were coming. Ambassador Veltar stood at the center of the chaos. His blue skin was pale with fear. "Order! We must have order!" The insect representative clicked his mandibles rapidly. "Your species caused this disaster. You assured us the humans would surrender after one battle. How could we know they would fight like savage animals?" Veltar shot back. "No civilized species destroys entire fleets." The tentacled Aquarian delegate slammed his appendages on his desk. 600 ships gone. How do we explain this to our people? High Chancellor Mordek, leader of the coalition, finally spoke. His ancient voice carried the weight of centuries. "Enough, what is done is done. The question now is what we do next." "We retreat," the crystalline representative said. "Pull back our forces and sue for peace." "Peace?" The insect delegate's voice buzzed with anger. "They destroyed our entire punishment fleet. They will demand our unconditional surrender." "Then we give it to them," Veltar said quietly. "Better to live as vassals than die as fools." High Chancellor Mordek stood slowly. He was old, but still imposing. "The Coalition has ruled this galaxy for 800 years. We will not surrender to primitives who learned star travel yesterday." "What choice do we have?" the Aquarian asked. "We mobilize everything," Mordek declared. "Every ship, every soldier, every resource. We show these humans what the full might of the Coalition looks like." The chamber fell silent. Total mobilization had never been necessary before. Their enemies always surrendered before things went that far. "How many ships can we gather?" Veltar asked. "Over 2,000, the military advisor reported. "If we pull ships from every world, every patrol, every training mission." "Do it," Mordek ordered. "Gather the Grand Fleet. We will crush these humans with overwhelming force." But the humans were not waiting. Admiral He Jin-yoon had already begun the next phase of her campaign. Protocol 7 meant total war, and total war meant taking the fight to the enemy. Admiral Sang-min Park commanded the second battle group from his flagship, the Mokpo's Thunder. His ships were older than Admiral Yoon's, but they were proven in battle. His crews had fought pirates and raiders for 20 years. Admiral Yoo-jin Choi led the 8th Fleet in the experimental ship Jeju's Defiance. Her fleet specialized in deep space operations. They could fight for months without returning to base. The 3 human fleets met at a staging area just outside Coalition space. 180 ships against the entire Coalition military. The odds looked impossible, but human officers had studied their enemy carefully. "Their ships are not built for extended combat," Admiral Yoon explained to her fellow commanders. "Our intelligence shows they carry supplies for 2 weeks at most. Their crews are trained for short engagements." Admiral Park nodded. "We can fight for months if necessary. Our ships are designed for it." "What about their numbers?" Admiral Choi asked. "Numbers mean nothing if they cannot use them effectively," Admiral Yoon replied. "Their formation tactics are designed for intimidation, not combat efficiency." The human strategy was simple but brutal. They would force the aliens to fight the kind of war they were not prepared for, a long, grinding campaign where victory went to the side that could endure the most punishment. 3 weeks later, the Coalition Grand Fleet assembled at Proxima Drift, a strategic system that controlled 3 major trade routes. Admiral Klyseth commanded from the massive dreadnought Eternal Dominion. The ship was twice the size of any human vessel, covered in weapons and armor that gleamed like jewelry. "Deploy the fleet in ceremonial formation," Admiral Klyseth ordered. "Let the humans see the full power of the Coalition." 2,000 ships arranged themselves in perfect rows. The formation stretched across space like a metal wall. It was designed to inspire awe and terror in any enemy. When the human fleets arrived, they did not even pause to admire the display. "All ships," Admiral Yoon broadcast. "Attack formation Beta. Target their command structure first." The human ships moved like hunters, not like parade participants. They concentrated their forces and struck at weak points in the alien formation. Captain O led his carrier group in a flanking attack. His fighters had been modified with new weapons based on captured Coalition technology. The aliens were about to face their own designs turned against them. Commander Hyunjun Seo commanded a squadron of torpedo bombers. His ships were small and fast, designed to get close to large targets and deliver devastating attacks. The battle began at maximum range. Coalition ships fired in massive volleys designed to overwhelm enemy defenses. But human ships did not rely on shields and evasion. They relied on armor and damage control. Captain Subin Jang's dreadnought took the first hits. Energy beams that should have crippled her ship barely scratched the armor. "Return fire," she ordered calmly. "Target their flagship." The Incheon's Wrath fired all weapons at once. The concentrated firepower punched through the Eternal Dominion's decorative armor like it was paper. Secondary explosions rippled along the alien ship's hull. Admiral Klyseth felt his command bridge shake. "Impossible. Our armor should have stopped that." "Sir, human weapons are more powerful than our intelligence suggested," his tactical officer reported. "And their ships are much more heavily armored than we expected." The battle quickly turned into a nightmare for the coalition forces. Their beautiful formation became a trap. Ships could not maneuver without colliding with their neighbors. Many could not fire without hitting their own allies. Human ships moved through the alien formation like sharks through a school of fish. They concentrated on one target at a time, destroying it completely before moving to the next. Lieutenant Wu Jin Nam led his fighter squadron directly into the center of the alien fleet. His small ships dodged between massive alien vessels, striking at weak points in engine systems. "Target their bridge," he called to his pilots. "Make them blind." The fighters swarmed over a coalition battleship like angry wasps. Their weapons were small, but they hit critical systems. The alien ship lost communications, then sensors, then weapon control. Lieutenant Ha Young Kim's bomber squadron attacked from below. Her ships carried weapons that could crack the strongest armor. She lost 3 bombers getting into position, but her attack split an alien cruiser down the middle. Commander Seo pressed his torpedo attack, despite overwhelming enemy fire. His squadron was reduced to half strength, but they reached their target. The experimental torpedoes punched deep into the alien ship before exploding. The massive vessel broke apart in a chain of secondary explosions, but the real shock came when coalition ships tried to surrender. Admiral Klyseth watched his fleet fall apart around him. "Signal surrender to the human commander." The message went out on all frequencies. "Human fleet, this is Admiral Klyseth. We surrender. Please cease fire and accept our capitulation." Admiral Yoon's response was broadcast to both fleets. "Coalition forces, you may surrender when you are no longer shooting at us. Until then, we will continue to defend ourselves." The aliens could not understand. In their culture, surrender meant an immediate end to fighting followed by negotiations. But human ships kept firing at any alien vessel that still had working weapons. "They will not accept our surrender," Admiral Klyseth reported to his remaining ships. "Then we die fighting," one of his captains replied. But coalition crews were not trained to fight to the death. As their casualties mounted past 50%, ship after ship simply stopped fighting and tried to escape. Human ships pursued the fleeing vessels. Admiral Yoon had given clear orders: destroy every enemy ship that could still fight. Show mercy only to those who truly could not continue. The battle lasted 14 hours. When it ended, the coalition Grand Fleet had ceased to exist. Over 1,800 ships were destroyed or crippled beyond repair. The survivors scattered across the galaxy, carrying news of the disaster. Admiral Klyseth was among the dead. His flagship had been cut apart by concentrated human fire. The coalition's military leadership was gone. Captain Ye Jin Han surveyed the wreckage from her experimental ship. "Admiral, enemy resistance has ended. Shall we pursue the survivors?" "No," Admiral Yoon replied. "Let them run home. Let them tell their leaders what happened here." The news reached Hegemony Prime 3 days later. High Chancellor Mordek received the reports in his private chamber. 2,000 ships reduced to scattered wreckage. The coalition's military power broken in a single battle. "How is this possible?" he whispered. His aide was too frightened to speak at first. Finally, she found her voice. "Sir, the humans fight differently than any species we have encountered. They do not seek advantageous terms. They seek total victory." Mordek felt the weight of centuries pressing down on him. The coalition had ruled through intimidation and superior numbers. But what did you do when intimidation failed and numbers were not enough? The humans had given them a choice: surrender or be destroyed. After 2 crushing defeats, the choice was clear. But surrender would mean the end of the coalition as they knew it. 800 years of dominance would be over. On Earth, President Min Kang received Admiral Yoon's report. 6 months after the Battle of Proxima Drift, Ambassador In-suk Lee sat across from the remaining coalition leadership in what had once been their Grand Council chamber. The room looked different now. Human guards stood at every entrance. The coalition's ceremonial decorations had been removed and replaced with simple, functional furniture. The aliens who had once ruled 12 species now sat like prisoners awaiting judgment. Veltar was there, his blue skin gray with defeat. The insect delegate kept his mandibles still, afraid to make any sound. The Aquarian representative had lost 2 of his tentacles in the fighting and kept the stumps hidden under the table. Former High Chancellor Mordek sat at the end of the table. He was no longer a chancellor of anything. The coalition government had been dissolved 3 months ago. He was just another defeated alien now. The terms are simple, Ambassador Lee said. She spoke in a calm, professional voice. The coalition is permanently dissolved. All military assets are surrendered to human authority. All species will be placed under human protection status until they prove they can coexist peacefully. Veltar raised one shaking hand. Ambassador, surely we can negotiate some terms. Perhaps a gradual transition of power? Our people need time to adjust. Ambassador Lee looked at him with no expression. There is nothing to negotiate. You chose war over diplomacy. You murdered our people under a flag of peace. You threatened our colonies. These were your choices. But our cultures, our traditions. The insect delegate buzzed weakly. Surely you will not destroy everything we have built. Your traditions included enslaving weaker species and demanding tribute from peaceful neighbors, Ambassador Lee replied. Those traditions end now. Former Chancellor Mordek finally spoke. His voice was old and tired. What will happen to our people? They will be protected under human law. They will be free to live their lives in peace. But they will never again threaten other species. The door opened and President Min Kang entered the room. The aliens all flinched. They had learned to fear the human leader who had authorized the destruction of their fleets. Mr. President, Ambassador Lee stood and bowed slightly. The former coalition leadership was asking about terms. President Kang took a seat at the head of the table. He looked at each alien carefully before speaking. There are no terms, he said simply. You attacked us. We defended ourselves, you lost. Now you face the consequences. Surely there must be some room for negotiation, Veltar pleaded. In the old days, defeated enemies could retain some dignity, some autonomy. President Kang's expression did not change. The old days ended when you fired on the soul's pride. When you kill diplomats, you forfeit the right to diplomatic treatment. He placed a single document on the table. This is the new reality. The Human Protection Authority will govern all former coalition worlds. Human law will replace coalition law. Human military forces will maintain peace and order. Mordek picked up the document with trembling hands. And if we refuse? President Kang stood up. You are not in a position to refuse anything. Your fleets are destroyed. Your armies are scattered. Your governments have surrendered. You have no choice but to accept human protection. The old alien's voice cracked. This is conquest, not protection. Call it whatever you want, President Kang replied. But remember that you started this war. We simply finished it. As the president left the room, the defeated aliens sat in silence. Outside the building, they could see human ships landing at the spaceport. Soldiers in human uniforms patrolled the streets. The coalition's capital world was now under human control. On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Do-hyun Kang stood on the bridge of the Terra's Promise, humanity's newest and most powerful warship. He was President Kang's son, but he had earned his position through military service, not family connections. Captain, Science Officer Soo Min-young reported from her station. We are receiving a communication from the Cathara system. The local species is requesting human protection. Captain Kang was not surprised. It had become a common occurrence. Species throughout the galaxy had heard what happened to the coalition. They decided it was better to request human protection voluntarily than risk being seen as a threat. What do we know about the Cathara? He asked. Peaceful traders, Officer Young replied. No military to speak of. They were under coalition protection until 6 months ago. Send a diplomatic team, Captain Kang ordered. Follow standard protection protocols. The standard protocols were simple. Species that requested human protection were required to disarm any military forces they might have. In exchange, they received guaranteed safety from aggression and access to human trade networks. Most species found it a fair deal. Human protection was much better than coalition domination. The Terra's Promise patrolled what had once been the heart of coalition space. Human bases now occupied every strategic system. Human law had replaced the complex and corrupt coalition legal system. Former coalition worlds were becoming peaceful and prosperous under human administration. But not everyone was happy with the new order. "Captain, we are detecting ships moving toward the Rigel system," the tactical officer reported. "Configuration unknown." Captain Kang studied the sensor display. "How many ships?" 23 vessels. They appear to be a mixed group of former coalition species. Pirates or rebels? Unknown, sir. They are not responding to our communications. Captain Kang made his decision quickly. "Set course for Rigel, maximum speed. Alert the garrison there that we are coming." The Terra's Promise was fast even by human standards. It reached the Rigel system in 6 hours. What they found there was not encouraging. The unknown ships had attacked a human supply convoy. 3 freighters were damaged and drifting. The attackers were demanding that the humans leave the system immediately. "This is Captain Kang of the Terra's Promise," he broadcast to the attacking ships. "You are ordered to stand down and surrender immediately." The response came from a ship that looked like it had been built from spare parts. "Human oppressor, we do not bow to your illegal occupation. The free species of the galaxy reject your so-called protection," Captain Kang sighed. There were always a few who refused to learn from history. "Final warning," he broadcast. "Surrender now or face the consequences. We spit on your warnings." The rebel leader replied, "For the glory of the coalition." The battle was short and one-sided. The rebel ships were poorly maintained and badly coordinated. Their crews were brave but inexperienced. Within 2 hours, all 23 ships were either destroyed or surrendering. Captain Kang ordered rescue operations for the survivors. Even rebels deserved medical treatment and fair trials. "Captain," Officer Young said quietly, "this is the 5th rebel group this month. They seem to think they can restore the old coalition." "Let them think what they want," Captain Kang replied. "Actions have consequences. They will learn that lesson eventually." Back on Earth, President Kang reviewed reports from across the former coalition territory. The news was mostly good. Trade was increasing. Conflicts between species had decreased dramatically. Former coalition worlds were adapting to human administration better than expected. Admiral Hee-Jin Yoon entered his office carrying a thick folder. "Sir, we have completed the integration of former coalition military personnel into the human protection forces." "How many decided to join us?" "About 40%. The rest chose civilian life. We detected no security concerns." President Kang was pleased. Former enemies who chose to serve under human command were often the most loyal soldiers. They understood what happened to those who opposed humanity. "What about the rebel groups?" "Decreasing in number and effectiveness," Admiral Yoon reported. "Most species realize that resistance is futile. The few who still fight are poorly organized and have no popular support." The president walked to his window and looked out at the capital city. Human and alien citizens walked the streets together. Former enemies were becoming neighbors. "Sometimes I wonder if we did the right thing," he said quietly. Admiral Yoon looked surprised. "Sir? We destroyed an entire civilization. Ended 800 years of history. Made ourselves the rulers of dozens of species." "They fired first," Admiral Yoon reminded him. "They demanded tribute from free people. They threatened our colonies." "I know," President Kang said. "But sometimes I wonder what might have happened if we had tried negotiation instead of war." Admiral Yoon was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Sir, with respect, we did try negotiation. We sent diplomats to talk peace. They murdered our people and demanded our surrender." She paused. "The aliens thought humans would bargain because that is how they solved problems. They learned too late that humans fight wars to end them permanently." President Kang nodded. She was right, of course. The coalition had made their choice when they fired on the soul's pride. Everything that followed was just the natural consequence of that decision. A communication officer entered the room. "Sir, we are receiving a message from the Vega sector. Another species is requesting human protection." "How many does that make this month?" President Kang asked. 12, sir. At this rate, we will be protecting the entire galaxy within 5 years." Admiral Yoon smiled slightly. Not a bad outcome for a species that was supposed to surrender 3 colonies. President Kang returned to his desk. "Send a diplomatic team to Vega.